Gentlemen, it's Saturday morning. That means those two great guys full of information you don't want to miss. A veteran show for all veterans. Welcome Major Andrew White, retired, and Marine helicopter pilot Chuck Wright.
Hey.
Hoorah! And welcome back to another edition of Kilroy's Conversation. Full disclaimer, for those of you all who are fans of the show, it may get a little sensitive today. And the reason being is we are talking about a topic that is very close to many of us over here on the panel. Joining us today is a Army veteran and a great friend of ours, great friend of the show, former New York City police sergeant and Army veteran, Gus Kabrakis. Gus, welcome to the show. Today's topic, Afghanistan. What the heck went wrong? I'm just going to throw it out there like that. Could we have absolutely screwed up an exit strategy any worse?
No.
I mean, and believe me, to the current administration, that's not a challenge to see, tell us to hold your beer as you make it worse, because it's pretty freaking bad.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw this out there. I'm going to throw some of the blame on the Donald. Why we are completely abandoning Afghanistan is beyond me. Did we learn nothing in 86?
Yep.
And I'm going to reference, for those who haven't seen the movie, Charlie Wilson's War.
One of the greatest movies.
An outstanding movie. Tom Hanks, Philip Seymour Hoffman, the late Philip Seymour Hoffman, Julia Roberts. It's a fun movie. It's a funny movie. But at the end of it, we bail out on Afghanistan and leave them hanging instead of trying to do things. And I know people get on us about being neocons and nation building and all that stuff, but let's be real candid. That's exactly what we did after World War II.
Yep.
And people
look at Germany, look at Japan, look at Korea.
Say, how long are we going to leave troops? We've still got troops from World War II in Japan, in Korea, not in the Philippines anymore. Italy, yeah. Germany.
And guess what? We've built those countries better.
We've
made them. They're grateful for
the Marshall Plan might have been the single most powerful policy decision ever made. The Marshall Plan was basically when we agreed to rebuild Europe and then forgave all of those loans. You wonder why we're in debt today? Well, let me tell you, part of it was doing all that. But you know what? It was the right thing to do.
Absolutely. And the wrong thing to do is how we've handled. And, there's blame to be shared on many levels.
Absolutely.
I would even go so far back as to, Obama's thing where, he opened up the door, I think, on the military side, when the amount of high-level general flag officers he relieved because they did not play by his specific policy, opened up the door for some of the weaker, lesser capable officers to move up to the ranks, and now we're stuck with what we have. And never taking a moment to look at, is it a good idea to abandon Bagram Air Force Base and leave all that there? I mean...
So let's talk a little bit about this insane timeline. You have Bagram Air Force Base, which is incredibly well defended.
Yep.
It's a very defensible Air Force Base. We close it down to fly out of the Kabul,
the Harman Karzai International, horrible.
Yeah. One runway.
Yeah, no capabilities at all. What were you thinking? What were you thinking not to go get the civilians out first?
Yep.
Do you not understand they can be used as hostages?
It is absolutely no. I look back and I'll just start off with President Biden. He's like, this will not turn into another Saigon. Have you seen the optics? Have you seen the pictures? Have you picked up a history book?
Now and we've already seen the picture from the Kabul U.S. Embassy.
Yep.
With the CH-46, and that's what I used to fly. Landing on the roof, trying to rescue people and get them out of there. How is it any different?
It's not, and it is a absolute tragedy, and there's a lot of leaders to blame. I just cannot even conceive how we could have screwed this up any worse. I mean, yes, Afghanistan has always been known as a graveyard of empires. Well, guess what? We've just planted our tombstone.
Yep.
We did it in spectacular fashion. And, like we were talking prior to the show, you look at the Gold Star families over the last 20 years that lost loved ones over there, ask themselves, what did my son or daughter die for? Yeah. We spend, what is it, $3.2 trillion over the last 20 years? $3.2 trillion. I'm not a math.
That's not even a good infrastructure bill.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, do you think about how much we could have done with that kind of money? And then the loss of life. What is it? It's about 3,200 soldiers.
About 3,200 soldiers.
Yeah, and over 22,000, 26,000, excuse me, wounded. Yeah. For what?
And those are just the ones that we can see, the visible wounds.
Exactly.
It doesn't say anything about the invisible wounds of war. Gus, give us your I came out of the Bronx, New York, Yankee take. What are your feelings on all this?
Well, first of all, he's a Mets fan, not a Yankee fan.
Well, but he is a Yankee. You guys are from north of the Mason-Dixon line. So I can't, but sorry about that. Yes, in all fairness, you are a Mets fan.
It's, try not to watch the news, but you almost can't help yourself. We're negotiating with the people that attacked us 20 years ago.
Yep. It's like,
it's just,
and you're negotiating, and you're right. We're negotiating with people who, excuse my language, don't give a flying F about us at all.
Oh, no. I beg to differ.
Okay.
They hate us.
Yes.
They hate us with we are the great Satan because they hate things like freedom. And I had a conversation. So one of the things, and we've talked in other shows about the concept of Charlie Mike, which is continue the mission. Well, there are quite a few of our veterans who are continuing the mission, or at least we're trying to. Now they're just trying to get their people out. We're trying to not just continue the mission. So there is one lady that I had an opportunity to meet who runs a program, and her husband is they're now working on him becoming a U.S. citizen. He is a Afghan general in the Afghan military. Now they have gotten out and they are safe, but they were working on building schools, particularly for the women. Now, I have another Marine friend who was working on making sure those schools had power. His whole thing was to make sure the schools had power so the kids could go to school in the winter because it's about to get cold. And now all of our allies are heading into, and he told me the name of the valley. There's a valley that's south of Kabul. It's in the southern portion of the country. And basically all of our allies are going there. These are the people from the Northern Alliance, and literally planning to make their last stand with virtually no equipment, with completely unprepared for, a very nasty winter, because I think the valley is 6,000 feet in elevation. It's going to be cold. That's a mile up in the air.
Yep. The only thing is, a lot of them are unfortunately accustomed to that type of fighting.
Talking about wintertime, why we would pull out of Afghanistan during the summer season? We should have waited till the winter.
Exactly. We've got the aircraft. We've got the capabilities. And you're right. If you look at when the fighting season is in Afghanistan, it's not the winter.
Nope.
We could have done this in a safe, organized manner.
Safer.
Right? But the leadership in Afghanistan grabbed the money and ran, put in place, are nowhere to be found. They're out of there. They say, see ya, not my problem.
Well, and I can't really say that I blame them.
No.
They're going to chop their heads off. They're going to abuse their wives and their children, and they're already doing it. This is already going on. And where is the public outcry?
Yeah, where's all these women's group?
Yep. Yeah. Where's the Me Too movement on this? You know,
nowhere to be found.
Nowhere. And again, we try to stay out of politics, but that is political. If Donald Trump was still there, I promise you, those would be the people speaking up the loudest right now.
They would have been marching onto the White House.
And it is, quite honestly, it's criminal the way this current administration is allowing the complete and total failure of this mission.
Listen, it's. I don't think it's the military that has lost this war. It's the politicians.
Oh, hands down. They've set the policy that has said it. And, we talked a little bit about the show. A great question that I think we've known for even a short period of time, long enough that we could have mobilized the 82nd, the 101st, 10th Mountain. We could have airdropped and got everyone into Kabul, secured it. Don't tell me for a second we do not have the military might and force to put a perimeter far enough out to physically beat back.
Well, you realize the 6,000 troops that went in aren't troops at all. They're Marines.
10th Mountain's there.
Yep.
10th Mountain's already
10th
there.
Mountain,
Yep.
82nd, yep.
But the bottom line is we have that capability to do that. The question is, why aren't we using it? We know why, because we have an administration that does not have a strong enough backbone to get the hands dirty a little bit in the right way, but they're willing to get their hands bloody and dirty in the wrong way and not really care about it.
And I'm going somewhere with this, but Gus, one of the things that you talked about, why are we negotiating with people that aided and abetted Al-Qaeda? So I'm sure there's one or two of our friends on the left side listening to this going, well, it wasn't the Taliban who attacked us, it was Al-Qaeda. Well, they got their support from the Taliban. Talk a little bit about what's going to happen in Afghanistan once we finally get most of our people out. And I don't even want to discuss the over and under on it. How many Americans the Taliban are going to estimate are going to kill. The estimates, we just have to estimate it on the Afghans. It's going to be a slaughter.
Yep.
But what's going to happen after this is over, and this will probably all be over by the end of the year for the most part? Talk about what's going to happen. What's going to happen in Afghanistan and with the Taliban, and what does this do?
The question is the mainstream media going to report it?
No.
No.
It's not the optic. And what I think, you bring up a good point. They're going to focus on everything that has nothing to do with it and allow all that, because that's not their optic.
It's not their optic.
And where I'm going with this is we have a border that is now completely unsecure. So how many of these individuals that are going to get trained in Afghanistan are going to wind up walking across our border? How many of the narco-terrorists are going to train people and support people that all of a sudden, we've talked in the past about 9/11 being the organization and coordination that it took, but how much scarier it is if this threat comes from the inside and not from the outside next time.
It's going to be a lot worse, I think.
Yep.
I mean, we have an open border. I mean, I know we're not supposed to use the military to protect, secure the border, but yet we have troops North and South Korea. We still have troops in Germany protecting their borders. What about, and I know you can use the military, but I mean, it's literally an invasion. What's going on right now.
It is, and one of my concerns, and I remember, after 9/11, speaking with different federal agencies. The greatest weapon that I think our enemy, and I'm talking about the Taliban and terrorist groups have right now, is fear. They don't need to have a 9/11 type of event to injure America. They don't. And the odds of them pulling off that level of a scale that large, probably slim and none. But can they do small things in small towns, America, where the security is less and success rate goes high? Absolutely. And that is what I think we all fear is they're planning. They're already, and that's what I don't think this administration truly has a grasp on from the intelligence side of it, of saying, hey, these guys have had 20 years to come up with something diabolical. 20 years is a long time to plan an attack. They did a pretty darn good job on 9/11. If I had 20 years to plan something, you better bet the next thing.
You were talking about how we bungled this, and I'm going to go back and as much as I love the Donald, there was a lot about him I didn't like.
Yep.
How many terrorists did we release out of Gitmo before we got our people out? Why in the world
we traded for Bergdahl.
didn't we say?
Oh, don't even get me started on that.
Oh, back on that ways back.
Tell you what, let's make a trade. We'll give him back. Give us some of our, they seem to like him for 5 years.
They can have him back. And for those who don't know, he effectively was a U.S. military deserter that we thought they'd kidnapped, and in reality, he'd walked out. But Trump turned loose. He basically opened the gates at Gitmo and flew a bunch of these guys back. One of them is already seen in the pictures and all this stuff. And I was like, why did we do that way? Why didn't we say, you know what? We're going to play hardball in this negotiation. You can have your people back when we've gotten all of our people out safely.
But you can't negotiate with
Not
the
anymore.
Taliban.
Well, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
We didn't negotiate. We gave it away.
Exactly. And
we just gave it away.
They've got all the power. And what benefit do they have to negotiate with us? What do they've said it. You're out August 31st, or hell's coming. And you know what? I believe them. And you know what? This administration better start believing, because it's going to get.
And the scary thing is, one of the things that they talked about, it was something that was said in a press conference recently by the Sleepy Joe. He said that we have over-the-horizon capability. I'm like, can you not read a map? The only thing we can do is park an aircraft carrier off there, but we don't have, our helicopters don't have the legs to get in there.
Nope.
We don't have the ability to do that. We don't have assets that can watch what's going on.
We gave all that up.
We gave all that up, and we were talking about it in the break before the show. It'd be great to go in and kill all the Taliban. The problem is we don't know who they are because they're all embedded with everybody else. They all look alike. And I mean that from the military standpoint. These people don't wear uniforms.
Exactly.
They don't follow normal rules of engagement.
And I'll say this, and I know some listeners may think this is a derogatory comment. It's not. I'm referring to the Taliban only, not the Afghan people.
Yeah.
The Taliban are cockroaches.
Oh, yeah.
They go underground. That's what they do.
Yep.
They are, you can't kill them all. They are cockroaches. Again, Taliban, not the Afghan people.
Afghan people.
Don't want to get the hate mail, going on the show over here. But
No,
that's
there's a
what
lot
we're
of
dealing
Afghan people who are going to give their lives because they supported
there's
us.
a lot of Afghan people that President Biden has signed their own death warrant for. There's a difference.
I'm
It's
not
one thing
totally
giving-
blaming Biden for that one.
Yep.
But I wanted to come back to something else you said when we were off the air, and think about this a little bit. When Biden was the vice president, against the recommendations of his military personnel, we pulled everybody out of Iraq.
He was the VP. Yep.
Yep.
And it led to the rise of ISIS, and these may have been some of the most brutal, horrific terrorists.
Bad people.
And what did we do to run them out? Trump basically was forced to do another surge. We went after them,
Chased him over into Syria.
chased them all the way into Syria. Of course, the other thing that Biden said, we don't have any troops in Syria. I wonder if those 900 families of those 900 troopers that are in Syria right now are kind of going, huh? My daughter's over there right now.
Yep.
And it is amazing how effective a small group is. A small group of well-trained Americans, well-supported Americans are in keeping these guys down. And for all practical purposes, we ran ISIS out of, we destroyed it as a major function, ran them out to Eastern Africa and Ethiopia and places like that. And now that the Taliban's taken over, they're going to rise back up again. This is going to be
They're going to be like they
biggest
never
terrorist
left.
training bases in the world.
And it's horrible.
Another thing is our allies. You look at NATO. We're part of NATO.
What confidence do they have?
Yeah. Would they ever count on us?
Again? Because we did all this unilaterally. We didn't even bother to consult them. And Sleepy Joe's up saying, oh, yeah, things are going great. Does he not realize he's being ripped on the floor of the parliament?
Yeah. Britain had their troops there to make sure that we don't.
France, the Friends are going outside of the wire. My question is, the mainstream media, you watch him doing these press conferences. As soon as he's done reading that teleprompter, he turns around, he walks right out.
Yep.
Where with the previous administration, they wouldn't even let him,
No, it was unheard of. And that just goes right back to we're playing with a guy who plays checkers rather than a guy who should be playing chess in the White House right now.
Well, and I will say this, and this is not really a defense of Sleepy Joe. I am frustrated because Trump was the one who said, oh, we're going to withdraw because that's politically expedient. And he was trying to get elected. And so he made a politically expedient move. But quite frankly, it goes back to W, and he listened to Don Rumsfeld, who's an absolute idiot. He reminds me of Robert McNamara. Had no clue, arrogantly thought he was smarter than everybody else. But we literally went into Afghanistan without a clear plan. Now, you'll watch Charlie Wilson's War, and if you haven't watched it, I strongly recommend it. But our plan should have been 30 to 50 years long. That we were going to stay in Afghanistan, even if and we could have done this with a very small force. We didn't need to dominate the whole country, but we could have kept the Taliban back with technology, with troops on the ground who understood what was going on, and by supporting the Afghan people. And literally, and I know people are going, oh, you want a nation built. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of what we do. And every country we've gone into,
it's worked.
We've made it better.
And here's the thing with Afghanistan, and we've talked a little bit. Charles and I were talking prior to the show. One of the problems is the people in Afghanistan don't care about Afghanistan. The country itself has no meaning to the Afghan people. They don't care about the name. They're loyal to their tribe. They're loyal to their village. They're loyal to their sector, whatever it is. They could care less about what flag is flying over the capital of Kabul. Doesn't make a difference to them. It is irrelevant to them. But we are so hell-bent on that idea. your plan of what you said would have worked in Afghanistan. It would have kept them.
And
you know,
Andrew, that's a really great
Yeah.
point. We did a poor job, just like we did, we talked about, this is this generation's Saigon, unfortunately, that we have to live through. And I know several of the gentlemen who were significant parts of the evacuation from Saigon. But we did a very poor job of understanding the people and understanding the tribes, and it's a shame. Our military went in unprepared, and we should have had embedded Afghan experts that could educate, because one of the things all the tribes had in common was, and it's really kind of interesting because they loved a war with each other, but they are great hosts.
Yeah.
Why didn't we have a plan that took advantage of that and helped that grow?
Actually, I can answer that question for you.
They should open up a couple of franchises, Whataburgers.
Yep. Could have solved a lot of.
I'm all
No
about
disagreement
that.
there.
7-Elevens.
But one of the problems was over there is because with Afghanistan, we sent our A team to Iraq, and we sent our B team on the early years to Afghanistan and kept them there, as opposed to putting some of the real experts on the ground. We had a lot of good people, but not the people that understood
Yep.
what it meant, and very much so. And I've talked to several of the folks that said, we spent way too much time, way too much money in Iraq when those resources, because if you think about it, in the early years,
Yep.
we let Afghanistan was an afterthought. When Iraq was going, the surge and all that stuff, how many stories did you ever hear about Afghanistan in the news?
Yeah.
It was all focused on Iraq, because that's where the A team players were sent. And not that the B team players are bad, it's just we did not have those experts that we needed in the place where they needed to be.
And I think that's a really good point, but it brings up to me an even scarier point. We're down to about 2 minutes. When you look at a map, you've got Iraq now as basically an Iranian satellite country.
Pretty
then
much.
You've got Iran, and now you've got Afghanistan that's going to fall, and Pakistan next to it.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically go from the easternmost borders of Saudi Arabia all the way to India, and you have effectively one massive state terrorist organization
100%.
with incredible oil reserves,
Nuclear weapons.
nuclear. Exactly right.
Another issue that we have, and people that would give nothing more than to see us fall down even further.
Yes. Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
and we got to be prepared, as we all say in the military, no matter what branch, embrace the suck. Let me tell you, America, better pucker up, because the suck is coming, and we're going to be embracing it hard if we don't wake up and realize, you know what? We need to do something about
Listen,
it.
you look at Taiwan, even South Korea. How about if China decides to go into Taiwan? Do you think they're going to rely on us?
Now,
Do we think today's administration would sacrifice American lives
no.
for Taiwan?
Not a chance. And, I've said this before in other conversations with folks is, do I think they're going to do a large-scale thing right now? No. Why? Because we have a weak leader who's not going to engage in war.
No.
They are going to wait until we get another Republican in the office. Republicans are not afraid to go to war. Democrats will entice the enemy to go to war.
I will give Slick Willie, Bill Clinton, credit for that.
Yep.
He went into Kosovo and tried to save thousands and thousands of lives. We have run up against our time on our first show back from our little short summer hiatus. Gus, thank you so much for joining us in the
Thank you for
studio
having me.
today.
Yep.
My partner in crime, Andrew White, who is now, instead of living in Plano, has moved to McKinney.
Yep.
Congratulations
Thank
on the
you.
new
Welcome,
place.
welcome.
And for all of us here in the hometown of America's team, as we get ready to kick off the NFL season. We bid everyone adieu for tonight. Or today, excuse me. Today.
Exactly.
And
we'll see you all next time.
Stay strong,
Fact.
America.
Stay strong, stay safe.
stay strong and stay safe. We've got some exciting shows coming up in September, so make sure you're tuning in.
All right. Hoorah.